Mark Tatum, Deputy Commissioner and COO of the National Basketball Association.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you all.
Dr. Richard Lapchick, thanks for being with us here on R&R on Sports.
Thank you for having me.
Civil rights icon, Dr. Edwards, how are you today?
I'm doing a heck of a lot better than I deserve, I'll tell you that.
Sports commentator, Scoop Jackson.
Good to be back on with you all.
Ian Griffey Jr., how are you today, sir?
I'm good. How about you guys?
It's R&R on Sports.
R&R on Sports.
Hello, world, and welcome to R&R on Sports. I'm Howard Robertson.
And I am the fantastic, the most amazing.
Here we go.
The astronomical.
Once again, he's stuttering. He's running out.
I'm Larry Robinson. What's up, America? You give me such a hard time, brother.
I always give you. No. I'm not the one. You give me a hard time constantly.
See, I'm not.
I think it has something to do with my age.
I'm not talking about your fluorescent outfit you got on. I mean, the paisleys and polka dots and stuff, man. You really need to get you a stylist.
But I'm matching.
I'm matching.
I am matching.
No,
I am matching. Listen, my wife buys me Garanimals. She buys me Garanimals, and let me tell you. See, you need to know how this works out. So every piece she doesn't have to anymore. Oh. Every piece has an animal on it. Okay?
Right.
So you pair the giraffes together, and you pair the hippos together, and you pair the zebras together. Don't you dare put a hippo with a giraffe.
Right. That's what you did. You must have put a monkey with a chicken. You must have put a monkey with a chicken.
She will beat me if I do that. So with that, you're always sharp.
Today?
I wasn't dressing in the dark. You know I look good. I can't wait till we get on TV so the world can see how good I look. What's been happening?
Man, it's all good, brother. It's all good. Just, trying to enjoy my coffee with my Baileys, my Irish cream. Just sitting back on this wonderful Saturday.
The Saturday morning brunch drinks.
There you go. Hope
you are enjoying it too.
What you got, a Bloody Mary or mimosa?
A Bloody Mary today.
Oh, okay then.
The BM.
You grown enough for that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You grown enough for that?
Yeah, and
See, I'm not. Because the Bloody Mary be putting my chest
down
on fire.
Here in Memphis, you can get a Bloody Mary with a piece of bacon in that bad boy.
It's like we gonna find a way to use the
celery is cool, but bacon is better, Jack. So we go all out. We go all out. Bacon? You can get some. You probably can get some a pork rind in that bad boy too. But that's what we do in Memphis, Tennessee. Listen, we are gonna talk today about fan-addicts. The word fan is the first part of the word fanatics. And we're going to talk about fan addicts and fanatics. Fan addicts and fanatics.
And
particularly with regard to sports.
These Cowboys, Steelers, Los Angeles Lakers,
sports in general.
New York Knicks, New York Yankees, all y'all people that just ride a little bit too damn hard.
Now, listen. Okay, your background in terms of growing up, you played both basketball and football, right?
Yes, sir.
Which was your favorite sport?
Basketball was really always my favorite sport.
Always your favorite?
Always my favorite
But you played some football.
But I played a lot of football. In fact, I had more opportunities to play college football at a higher level than basketball, actually.
Okay, so you like football pretty much.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Love it.
So despite that, though, you are a fan and were a big fan of the NFL.
I've blacked out on the NFL. I've totally blacked out.
What?
And literally, when you don't respect my humanity, and as an industry, when I see those young men, I see myself in a lot of cases. I can be injured and you can cut me when you tell me that, the prisoners are running the asylum or something like that, whatever Houston's coach said. Mm-hmm. You got Tom Landry talking about, I'll fire you if you kneel. The way that Colin Kaepernick has been treated. It shows me that the NFL really doesn't care about the humanity of the black male because they built an industry on the black male.
And we're going to talk more about that and Larry's conversion when we come back with more R&R after this.
This is Dr. J. You're listening to a little R&R on sports.
Welcome back to R&R on Sports. So you're no longer much of an NFL fan addict.
Well, I never was
right?
a fan addict.
I mean,
I never felt like the need to fight or to argue or debate. That's a lie. I'm a big debater.
Okay.
But as far as, I never got into that thing of being physical because my team didn't win or my team, you disrespected my team.
So did you have to wean yourself off of watching the NFL on the weekends?
Not at first. Not at first, because I was so angry at the NFL and the issues with Colin Kaepernick. It was really an issue for me, just how he was treated, knowing that he was one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Mm-hmm. So I felt like he was being discriminated against, and I'm big on that level of respect and humanity. And I thought they was really disrespecting his humanity, and therefore, when you attack us, so to speak, especially a black male, I tend to lean in on that.
In your conversations with friends and guys that you used to talk to about, the games and the outcomes and all of that, did they seem to understand? Did they think you were tripping?
It's interesting because a lot of them say, Larry, you're right. But what I have found is that black men as a whole, seem to be more concerned about their entertainment than their humanity.
Oh,
and
listen to you.
Yeah, that to me is a major issue. And the reason that it's going to be difficult for us as a people to become
now that's going to get us some reaction.
Come together and really eliminate these issues, because we can shut down the NFL. We can make people respect our humanity, but we got to be disciplined enough to be willing to be uncomfortable ourselves.
So you're not saying that just because somebody is yet watching the NFL that they don't care about the humanity of the players.
No, I said no.
Right?
I'm saying that, outside of family members or people that are close to you that are playing, I understand that. That's something a little beyond this. But as far as being able to say, you know what, I'm going to make you respect me, or I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to pay you to disrespect me, because that's what I feel. If I'm watching an NFL game, I feel like I'm paying them, to these owners, to disrespect them, because the only way that the NFL gets these huge television contracts is by the ratings. And with the ratings, they get, be able to charge $1 million for an ad at Super Bowl and so on and so forth. If we stopped watching, we can then force them to come to the table to make some systematic changes in the way that we've done. See, we got individuals like Gene Upshaw, God rest his soul, that really left these boys out on the island in the sense that they could be cut without any guaranteed contracts. That's a problem, because you couldn't care about my humanity if I can be hurt, you can cut me, and you don't owe me any more money when I've given my heart, soul, and everything. And so this is a multi-layered issue I have with the NFL, and one that I won't support until these certain things, such as the Colin Kaepernick issue, get resolved, number one. Number two, that we find them with guaranteed contracts for these young men that are putting their lives on the line. Because obviously with CTE, deaths, issues around heat stroke and things like that, you're putting your life on the line when you go play football.
All right. We are talking today on R&R about sports fan addicts, and when we come back, we will have a guest with us that had a very, very special and unique experience with this whole thing about fanaticism, relative to that.
This is an impactful show, guys. Check it out. Make sure before you go, make sure if you miss any of this show, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn app. Make sure you check out the podcast, because we always have it. It's an archival for you to check it out. Also, you can text R&R to 72,000 and you get a listing of the shows as well. So
back with more. R&R on Sports after this.
Don't be cutting me off.
It's R&R on Sports.
Are you telling me that Al Sharpton, that Jesse Jackson couldn't brush his shoulders off?
Welcome to Funky Politics, Brother Cornell Belcher. How are you, sir?
I'm honored to be a part of Funky Politics. America's not going to fail because of some outside army invades us. No, America's going to fail because of Americans can't get along.
Now is not the time to hate or criticize. Now is the time to disinfect and deodorize. Like the incense, it's going to be funky because this is one funky show.
Funky Politics.
On the KUDZUKIAN Network.
KUDZUKIAN. Hey, this is Dr. J.
Hi, this is Rika Ketchum.
This is John Hollinger, Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Tim Brown, NFL Hall of Fame inductee. You are listening to R&R on Sports.
You are back. With R&R on Sports. And my man has got this falsetto fetish. I don't know what it is. I've been dealing with it though, but you've been dealing with it for 4 years. Counseling is in his future. It is in his future. We're gonna let him be what he wants to be. All right. We are talking about fan addicts. Fan addicts. Of course, you know the word fan is the first part of the word fanatics, but we're going to talk about fan addicts. The addict part of it has to do with the fact that you lose control.
Lose total control.
You lose control over, to something, whatever your addiction is.
That's true.
And it could be sports.
Well, it could be
your
sports,
team.
But you know what? I see a lot of this in rappers, fans of rappers. We can go back to Biggie and Tupac.
Sure.
And, we had some of the same issues where people really didn't know either guy. Yeah. But kind of literally took a side.
Absolutely.
And you see that quite a bit. In sports, but also in music and entertainment.
And our guest today has a very, very close and what should I say, particular, specific, serious experience.
Addiction.
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 And his name is Jerald Trotter. Jerald Trotter. Welcome to R&R on Sports, man.
How you doing, Howard and Larry?
What's happening, brother? What's happening, man?
We're doing good. Not too much.
The worst thing that can happen in sports is Dallas Cowboys winning.
Hey, man.
Really, that's the absolute worst thing. I think the whole sports world literally has a black cloud over it when the Dallas Cowboys, because we got to hear about the Dallas Cowboys.
It's about to be a discrepancy, as Bernie Mac used to say.
We're gonna move some furniture up in here.
But let me say this: interest of full disclosure, I have known Jerald Trotter since he has known himself, since he's been in the world.
Are you his daddy?
Families? No, I'm not his daddy. We're not making that announcement. But our families go back in the same church for generations, literally. And when he was growing up, I was his church league basketball coach. And for those of you coaches out there, you know that, when you have a young man, a young person, a number of young people, you come to learn some things about him in the coaching process, and this was no different at all. But I want you, Jerald, to talk to us and everybody else and let us know a little bit about your background and how you became the addict of of the team that you're about to announce that you did. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm a lifelong Dallas Cowboy fan. It started out around 1976 when they drafted Tony Dorsett, or should I say Anthony Drew Dorsett, because I'm a fanatic.
You're that much of a
right?
Yeah. Wow.
Right. So I had to be number 33 when I played little league football. I had to be number 33. I had about 12 33 jerseys. I had to have the Dorsett cleats. Just became a part of who I was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So literally, the Dallas Cowboys, you kind of embodied. You were actually one of the members of the team.
It felt that way during my life. It did, in a weird way. When they lost, it hurt. When they won, I was just, over the moon excited.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So listen, this is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with Sports Fanatic, Jerald Trotter.
That's me.
All right. So Jerald, give us an idea of some of the times that you knew that Dallas Cowboys would kind of you bled the blue and silver.
Oh man, I can tell you this.
Now you grew up in Memphis, Tennessee.
I did. Nowhere near Dallas. Memphis didn't have a sports team, so people in Memphis, we picked either the Cowboys, the Steelers, or the Raiders, and I picked the Cowboys. I can remember being in elementary school, high school, when the Cowboys would lose on Sunday.
Right.
My entire week was bad.
Wow.
It would just put a cloud.
When you were a kid in school?
When I was a kid in school, that's when it was at its worst. I mean, that's when your hobbies and things just consume your all day long.
Is there a time when you snapped, when somebody was either picking on you as it relates to the Cowboys losing, or? As
a kid, you're always teased and always fighting, so that was always part of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little kid in the neighborhood.
Okay.
I was the youngest one. So, the older kids are going to pick on you about this, that, and the other. So,
right.
So you grew up in the hood, right?
Not the hood. I did not grow up in the hood. I grew up in a neighborhood. It was a nice neighborhood. I'd say middle class neighborhood. My parents were doing well. I actually went to private school. So, no, I didn't grow up in the hood. I had a pretty charmed childhood.
Oh, wow.
To be honest with you, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, did pretty well in school. Went to college, got a degree in finance. Went on to be a broker and a businessman on my own.
Okay.
Still a Cowboy fan through the whole thing.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys played a weird part in my life throughout my entire life.
So you watched them every Sunday?
I never missed a Sunday. And that's how November 12th happened.
November 12th?
November 12th, 2000.
Okay. Take us through it.
Never forget that day. Here we go. I was living in an apartment, and it wasn't the games weren't coming on cable. Dallas wasn't playing on television because Dallas wasn't playing that well. And so I was thinking, well, maybe we should get a satellite dish or something because I got to see the Cowboys.
Right.
But we were living in an apartment about to move to a house. So, I was thinking, well, there's no point of having this living in the apartment. So what I did was I went to a sports bar that was right up the street from where I was living.
Okay.
And it was called Clicks.
Hold on for a quick second. This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with Jerald Trotter, and he's giving us a recount of the famous day that his life changed. So continue, Jerald.
Okay, so I'm up at Clicks, and I'm pretty much the only Cowboy fan in the bar. Okay. I'm wearing my Deion Sanders jersey, number 21. I think I was wearing some blue jeans with that. And in this bar, this seems to be a quote-unquote Pittsburgh Steeler bar.
This is still a bar. So you in enemy territory.
I'm in enemy territory.
And so everybody understands the Cowboys were playing the Steelers that Sunday.
They were indeed.
And the Steeler fan club, the Steeler Nation in Memphis, Tennessee, a lot of them were in that bar.
That's all that was in there.
How many Cowboy fans were there?
Me.
As the saying goes, that's the point when you know that you up. Go ahead, my man.
So I'm in the bar, and I'm surrounded by Pittsburgh Steelers fans. But the thing is, my brother was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. All his friends were Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So, this is all part of the thing. It's not like we were in different gangs. It's not like I was a Crip in a blood territory or something like that. This is just, grown men and their sports teams. I thought.
Okay.
So I'm in the bar, and we got guys in face paint. We got guys wearing shoulder pads, Pittsburgh Steelers jerseys. They are
fanatics.
Yeah, they are in this. And actually, to be honest with you, I kind of liked it. I was like, okay, because that's how it would be for the Cowboys. So they got their place, and okay, I'm here and I'm watching this game. And I strike up a few of them strike up a conversation with me because they see me wearing the Cowboy jersey, and they figure, hell, we'll talk a little smack here. So we're going back and forth. We're talking a little smack, and one of the guys decides to bet me. The guy's name I found out later was Jonathan Smith. We bet $100 on the game. And as we're watching the game, listen, they have microphones in there. They have amplifiers. They're singing songs. They got just the thing going. They're cheering and everything. And Pittsburgh's beating Dallas.
Great setup for the atmosphere of that day. And we're going to get back into it when we come back with more R&R on sports after this.
Don't go nowhere.
It's R&R on sports.
Riffin' on jazz.
I think I know a lot about jazz.
It's only what you've been doing the last 30-some years.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
A voice that can make you laugh and make you cry.
Good jazz. You don't have to worry about what they're talking about. But when they pick up those instruments, we all speak the same language. And don't you know you went in the kitchen and come back with a big bowl of salad?
Riffin' on jazz on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
This is Dr. Charlotte Freeman, licensed clinical psychologist for NIA Therapy Services, and you're listening to R&R on Sports, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Fan-Addicts, Sports Fan-Addicts is our topic today here on R&R on Sports. And we are talking to a Dallas Cowboy.
You know what's interesting?
Fan-addict.
You know what's interesting to me, Howard, is when I think about the crazies, the people that are on Facebook that's, really talking about their teams. Mm-hmm. There's really 3 teams that I find that's more prevalent than any others.
They are?
And it's the Dallas Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Oakland Raiders. I mean, those are the 3.
You're saying they have the most fan addicts?
Yeah, they're straight nuts. I mean, people the people that literally will fight you over their team.
Yeah.
Or you might, if someone said, well, we saw this brother fighting, and you call somebody's name. Oh, Steve, he was at the game fighting.
And they put him out.
He'd be yeah. I can see Steve fighting. I can see Steve fighting. So if you got some people like that in your life, make sure you get them this show. Tell them to go to R&R on Sports, go to Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, any of that, to hear this show, because we're talking directly to those folks who literally cannot seem to control themselves when it comes to their sports team.
And our guest, Jerald Trotter, has just, before the break, described the atmosphere in the sports bar on this Sunday afternoon back in 2000 with the Steelers playing your favorite Cowboys.
Yes, sir.
And this is the Steelers bar, clearly. Mm-hmm. They've got, these guys have on face paint. They got helmets on. They got shoulder pads on. They are cutting up.
And are they winning too?
And they're winning. And you are the sole single Dallas Cowboy fan in the whole joint.
I am.
Pick up and let's hear what happened.
Okay, so as it's going, the Steelers are winning. I forget what they were winning by, maybe by a touchdown or a field goal. But what happens is, they're singing songs. They got it going. I'm thinking, well,
it's
Dallas
really getting under your skin.
You know what? Dallas sucked that year. So I wasn't really looking for them to show out. I just like to watch.
And you bet $100 on the team that sucked?
Hey, that's how it goes. It's all heart, no head.
Okay.
That's how it goes. So, I'm in there and I'm dealing with this. I'm watching. They're talking. I'm thinking, well, this is just, Dallas sucks. What happens is, fourth quarter, Deion Sanders picks off a pass. Okay. Runs it back for a touchdown, as he will do.
Uh-huh.
As he used to do.
As he used to do. So, I think that got the game to within 3 points, and he runs another punt back, puts them in field goal range. They go to overtime, and then in overtime, some kind of way, I think he actually won the game in overtime with a touchdown or put him in field goal position or something like that.
This is the dude whose jersey you're wearing.
This is the guy whose jersey I was wearing. So, I mean, you talking about personalizing a victory.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Right. So, I did this. I'm up and I'm doing Deion Sanders dance.
Really? In the bar?
In the bar.
Oh, my God. In the Steeler bar?
In the Steeler bar.
Oh,
as he was doing it on the screen, I stand up and I'm doing it in the bar.
Now, they were also talking smack on the mic, right?
Talking all kinds of smack. Not at this point.
What did you do?
Well, why were they talking smack when they were winning? Okay. At this point, it's quiet.
Okay. But let's go back. When did you make the bet?
I made the bet. It was around first quarter.
Okay.
The score's around 0-0 or 3-3, something like that. So we made the bet then. This is overtime.
Okay.
The Dallas has won the game. Okay, and it's quiet now. You can hear a pin drop in the place. And so I decided to pick up the mic and ask where all the noise had gone.
Oh, no.
I'm like, where did all the fans go?
Still the fans at.
So you rubbing a little.
That's what we do. I got to give them the business. I got to give them the business. That's what we do. I've been catching business for 4 quarters.
Right.
You know, and we've been doing this since we were kids. Thing is these weren't the guys I teased when we were kids. These were strangers. You know what I mean? And that was part of the problem. I teased them as if I knew them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm teasing these guys. I pick up the microphone and I'm like, hey, where'd all the singing go? Where the songs go? What happened to all the blah, 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 so and so? And I'm doing the dance and I'm talking, and next thing you know, I feel the heel of a palm of a hand hard as hell across the back of my head. Boom.
Wow.
Yeah. And that started a little.
So now somebody done put their hands on
the guy who lost the bet.
Oh, the guy that lost the bet.
The guy that lost the bet, his name was Jonathan Smith.
Decides to smush you.
It wasn't a mush, it was a pop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a mush, it was a bang.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
so hold on. What happened when did anybody respond to that?
Well, I responded to it.
No. Anybody else in the play, did they laugh?
Oh, no, they laughed. They all laughed, and they got up like, what, this and talking, you and our bar. Talking this acting a fool in our bar. You think we're going to let you get out of here?
Oh, wow.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, listen, this is R&R on Sports, and we get into the meat of this conversation with Jerald Trotter, Dallas Cowboy fan. Go ahead.
All right, you think we're going to let you get out of here? So-and-so, so-and-so. So I walked to the car.
Okay.
And as I'm walking to the car, man, I can't let it go. Can't let it go. My team just won.
You just you got it pushed in.
Now you got your $100. Right?
I got my $100.
The $100 is in your pocket,
and it wasn't.
You are walking
to the car.
Okay,
my team won.
Why didn't you leave?
That lick in the back of my head, and the laughing, my pride and my ego would not let me go.
What happened?
I stood outside and waited for this guy to come out. Went to the car, got my gun. Waited for him to come out.
Wait a minute. You went to the car and got your gun?
I was the conversation going on in my head. The internal conversation was, who in the F does this dude think he is? Putting his hands on me. He smacked me across the back of my head like I was his kid. I got something for this guy.
Wow, this is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with Jerald Trotter, and we get into the juicy part, y'all.
All right. So they come out. He comes out. He's in a group of about 10.
Okay.
So I call him over. Say, man, what the F is wrong with you? Putting your hands on me inside there. Was you drunk or something? And I'm trying to get him, I guess, to say, yeah, I was drunk. My bad. You know what I mean? My fault. I'm sorry. Sudden. So I'm trying to kind of open the door and give him an out because my pride won't let me do it. But his pride wouldn't let him take me out.
Oh, my goodness.
So he was like, F you. That's how I get down. Now what?
Okay.
And I respond with, well, this is how I get down. I pull out a .40 caliber Sig Sauer and I shot him 5 times in the chest.
Over a football game, and not just a football game, the physical attack, and then the pride issue.
Over ego,
right?
Over pride. Mm-hmm. I mean, here's the question. So you shot him 5 times.
5 times.
He died.
He did die.
Okay. And I'm going to fast forward. You went through a couple of trials.
I did.
And you were convicted for second-degree murder.
Was.
And you spent how much time in prison?
12 years, 9 months.
12 years, 9 months.
Yes, sir.
I've heard you tell young people that that's as long so that they can relate to it.
12 years and 9 months is akin. It's exactly like the first day of first grade. From the first day of first grade to the last day of your freshman year in college. That's exactly 12 years and 9 months.
And you tell people this who have not yet gone to reached college age, but they know how long ago it was when they were in the first grade.
In the first grade, right.
So for those folk who are sitting out there listening, and I know there are guys out there listening going, you know what? Yeah, I'd have done that. He had no damn business putting his hands on me. To those folk who are sitting there understanding or thinking in their own minds that you were thoroughly justified in what you did, what do you say to them?
That's just altogether wrong. Let me explain to you. It's a matter of degree. Yes, he put his hands on me, and it may have warranted some sort of retaliation, but that's like killing a fly with a sledgehammer. It wasn't called for. I didn't realize that at the time because I was caught up in my, fanaticism, my pride, my ego. But the thing is, a guy smacking you across the back of the head does not equate with you pumping 5 bullets into his chest and throwing away 13 years of your life. No.
Wow.
No, I was not justified.
And the rest of his.
And the rest of his, and that was the biggest mistake I ever made. So, no, I wasn't justified in that.
So, family, how did your family adjust to this situation and the years that I'm sure the trial went on?
I had a wife, and I say had, because this whole, deal just kind of eroded the marriage. It dissolved the marriage. We didn't last long during this time because it's hard to stay together during this type of thing. You got court cases coming up. There's stress in the home. I'm in and out of jail with bonds and this, that, and the other. So we just didn't make it. So she's gone. While I was this hurt my mother. I'm the baby. I'm the youngest, and I was a mama's boy. And my mom's crazy about, the risk of pissing my brother off. I was my mom's everything, Okay. So, to have her baby boy in jail, it did something to her. It did something to her heart. She never let on how much it was hurting her, but it killed her. It was real hard on her. It hurt my dad, hurt my whole family.
Oh, wow. The collateral damage was immense.
Oh, yeah. I was, like I said, I had gone to a very good school called Lausanne Collegiate School. I had, graduated from the University of Memphis. I had done well, and I had always done well in school. So my parents are figuring, well, here he goes. He's about to go out and get in the world what he's always wanted, the way we raised him.
Right.
And then I go and pull that kind of crap.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So talk about how much, if any, this fanaticism, fan-addict temperament that you had played into what happened that day in that bar.
See, it had everything to do with it because the people who absorb their teams the way I did tend to have a slightly an addictive personality.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that's the way I was with the Cowboys, and the Cowboys became a part of who I was. And as silly as that sounds,
your identity.
My identity, when you root for someone since you were 6 years old and you follow them and you're a kid and it becomes your life as a kid, it kind of still sticks to you as an adult. And so when someone would insult the Cowboys, it would hurt my pride, as silly as that was. Now, that's not how this fight started, but that was the case back then because pride and ego, I was wearing it on my sleeve. So it's going to come in contact with the Cowboys or whatever else. So when this guy smacked me across the back of the head, pride and ego, the same pride and ego that had me arguing about the Cowboys, the pride and ego had me shoot this guy in the chest 5 times.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're coming to the end of this amazing conversation with Jerald Trotter, Dallas Cowboy fanatic. Jerald, I got to ask you, during any of this time, has anybody from the organization, the Dallas Cowboys, NFL, anybody?
Not a soul.
Never reached out.
Never reached out. That was the joke in prison, man. They ought to be putting money on your books. They ought to be sending you, stuff in the mail. This, that, and the other.
Not one Dallas Cowboy player,
nothing,
fan, anybody.
They've never met me.
But why would they?
I don't know. I'm just curious as somebody who literally was standing like that.
Yeah, but an organization like the Cowboys doesn't want anything to do with somebody that would take something to that extreme.
I mean, But I'm just curious because here's a brother that was willing to die for his Cowboys, and as much as I love the Oakland Raiders, or I loved the Oakland Raiders, I ain't never wanted to smack nobody other than you. Now I might want to smack you every now and then, but it ain't because of the Oakland Raiders.
That ain't got nothing to do with the Raiders.
It's gonna be a discrepancy on that.
That's just because you wear these ugly clothes, man. They wear these ugly shirts.
We don't shoot, we cut. But anyway, but see, that was you.
Yes.
That was you. That was, the Cowboys would say, that does not reflect on us one iota. We take no responsibility. This was a fan gone mad.
As well they should. That's what they should say, because that's what happened. Someone who lost control that day.
So afterwards, you still rolling with the Cowboys?
They didn't make me act a fool that day. I acted a fool that day on my own. That day, even with the insane crap that the owner's saying, it's just my team. I've been rooting for since I was 6 years old, 7 years old, and it's just what I know. If I'm going to watch football, who else am I going to watch?
Right. So we got to get out of here, but tell people what you do now.
I am a mentor and a shepherd, and what I do is I go around and I talk to kids in school and try to, stem them away from gun violence, keep them out of gangs. I also work with a group of young men as their shepherd and help them to ease their way back into the workforce, ease their way back into, free life after they've been in prison.
You also got an Emmy-nominated commercial.
I've done that as well.
About gun crime.
How about that? Yes, sir.
All right, so look it up, folks. Fed Up is the campaign.
Yes, sir.
Sharing your story, Sharon. We appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Good
for
to be here
on R&R. We'll be back with more R&R on sports after this.
It's R&R on Sports on Dan Patrick Radio Channel 211 and on the Sirius XM app. We're getting funky, y'all.
And we have to thank Dick Durbin for being strong enough to actually come out of the Oval Office and say, hey, by the way.
Because he didn't have to say it, did he?
He didn't have to say it,
and I appreciate
because I tell people all the time, just because you skin folk don't mean you kin folk.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Just because you skin folk, you ain't got to be kin folk.
It's Funky Politics on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
Hi, this is Tweeka Ketchum. This is John Hollinger, Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Memphis Grizzlies. Tim Brown, NFL Hall of Fame inductee. You are listening to R&R on Sports.
Welcome back to R&R on Sports.
Back.
One day you're gonna miss doing that. We are talking about fan addicts and fanatics in sports, and you just heard from Jerald Trotter and his experience, and we decided to bring a professional in here. So today, Larry, we have Dr. Charlotte Freeman, who's a licensed clinical psychologist, with us. Hi, Dr. Freeman.
Hey, hello,
Dr.
gentlemen.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me here with you.
Absolutely. See, Howard didn't tell me he had a therapist.
Oh,
and,
I know. He calls me just, for a quick call. Just a quick call.
The brother got some problems.
He does.
You know what? I love him
anyway. Agree with that. Isn't that some kind of privacy thing? You ain't supposed to talk about my business?
Oh, you don't pay me, so therefore. Since you don't pay me, no problem.
You're on a non-monetary retainer. Anyway, so Dr. Charlotte, we've been talking about this stuff.
Of
course, we don't know. We don't know if we're tripping or if there's really something to this. Now, you heard Jerald's experience and testimony, if you will. Talk about, and the first thing that you said was you talked about layers. Mm-hmm. There are many layers to that issue. Tell us what you meant by that.
Does he need Jesus?
We all need Jesus.
Oh, okay. All right.
We all need Jesus.
I'm just checking.
So when I talked about multiple layers, what I was really talking about is the fact that, when you think about Jerald, he was in a sports bar and he was the only Dallas fan.
Right.
So he was amongst all of these Steeler fans who believed that they were going to win.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so in that moment when he won, he actually was sort of the personification of Dallas at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, amidst all of everybody else, and everybody else, he's strutting around in victory.
Let me tell you how. I got to tell her how on point that is, because you never knew this, but he had on a Deion Sanders jersey, and Deion Sanders won the game. So to your point about him being the personification of Dallas, he absolutely was.
Now, let me ask you, is he the personification of Dallas to himself or the personification of Dallas to the other fans in the bar?
I think it's a little bit of both, probably. At that moment, he is excited, when they win, he's like, because it's like when they win, it's like we won. As if we were playing the game. As if we were playing the game. We walking around with the jerseys on, and just like you said, he's got, Deion Sanders. So at that moment, it's we won. Now, if they had not, then it's like they lost. Yeah, at that moment, we distancing ourselves.
And he said that he had been a Dallas fan since he was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is something that is really ingrained in him and has been for a long time.
And, when you think about here in Memphis, we are Dallas and Steeler fans for the most part. When you ask men, that's, most of the time, they're one of the two. Now, you may have others that slip in, but, for the most part. So, therefore, there is just in that, you have a lot of people identifying in a group.
Right.
So when you're in a group setting, sometimes we will act and react in ways that we wouldn't do it, or react in a way if we were all by ourselves. Mm-hmm. But when you're with a group, then the group sort of encourages you to act in a way. You could be normally a shy man who, really is kind of introverted, but in that moment, you're thinking different.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with clinical psychologist Charlotte Freeman.
So how much do we incorporate the team's identity into our own personality, where we begin to take any attack or whatnot, disrespect for the team personally?
Well, when you identify with a particular group, then in that moment, you feel like when other people are criticizing, then you too feel like they're criticizing me because I've chosen that group to affiliate with. So you're at that moment, because I've chosen to be a part of that group, or I've chosen to support that group, then at that moment I do feel very personal, because I feel like you're challenging my choices then. You're saying that there's something wrong with the choices that I've made. And so you're looking, and unfortunately when we choose different groups, then sometimes we're looking for something to criticize in another group.
Mm-hmm. Now I think that's Larry, I think that's an incredible point, because what I see is that I see this particularly among young kids playing ball, playing basketball, playing football and whatnot. But they take it so personally when the other team is only doing their job. If the other team beat you, that means they were better than you on that particular day, in that particular game. Not for life.
Exactly.
But these kids internalize it so much that you will see them cry, they will react, they will want to fight, and a lot of this comes from I think parents.
Yeah.
Because they see their parents reaction from parents, and it has not been good in terms of youth sports.
Well, hold on for a quick second, because I played a lot of the youth sports, and I can tell you that there's a such thing as a kid just being hyper competitive, and just the disappointment. It's like the old wide world of sports. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I mean, as a kid, you're not immune to that agony of defeat. And I can tell you there was many days that I wanted to fight after we lost a game.
But you didn't.
I didn't.
right? Because
maybe a couple of them.
Well, you know, the problem that when we think about for parents, and you look at the situation where, of course, kids are, if you're playing sports encourages you to be competitive. You want to be number one.
Right.
You want to win. But we have to also recognize that we have to help kids understand that you're not going to win all the time.
Right.
No matter how great you are, no matter how great, even if you're playing in the pro, at some point you might not win, but how are you going to handle that? So you can't fight all the time. So you're going to have to find other coping ways to deal with situations.
So, like this kid that plays for Alabama or played for Alabama, Tua, his father would give him a whooping and whatnot if he played poorly. Even if he won the game, he sometimes got whoopings because he didn't play well. He threw an interception. All these things. That was the environment in which he was raised.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So his hyper-competitive nature when he becomes an adult and his self-criticism has to be at an all-time high. But with that being said, why aren't we seeing this toxic behavior with women versus what we see with men?
Well, I don't know that we don't see it with women, because we have a high rise, we have an increase in the number of women who are being sent to prison for aggressive behavior. So it's not that we're saying that we're immune to it. I think that society just overall, we tend to highlight women.
As it relates to being a fan addict, I don't hear or I don't see women. I see them, they might be wearing a jersey, but every time I see a man fighting at a tailgate or something like that, it's the woman that he's with that's in jersey and full guard who's trying to break it up. Like, stop, quit, trying to get in between the two guys and all those kind of things.
Well, I would say in that case, because a lot of times sports has been about men. Most of the time, we've only just seen women sort of really starting to be more engaged on a level where they actually enjoy sports. We're just not socialized a lot of times, in order to be that advocate. Most of the men who are in sports, they're taking their sons with them to the sports games. That's where they're going.
Not their daughters.
Their daughters were going and, doing other things.
More genteel things.
Right. Yes, Right. So that's why you don't necessarily see it. But you are seeing a rise in women being very, very aggressive when it comes to the game as well. But, also women, most of the time, you don't see us being so aggressive, just in general. We're kind of like, all right, But we do have women who are fans, and they will argue, but you don't see the aggression because by and large, even though we certainly have an aggressive nature, the way we aggress is very different.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're sitting here with clinical psychologist Jerald Freeman, helping us break down why people start acting crazy about these teams. Now, listen, when you want to hear this, if you miss any of this interview, make sure you go to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn app. We everywhere. And then you can go on Saturdays to Sirius XM, channel 211, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central.
Thank you. Shh. Okay.
You gotta love these guys. You gotta love them. You gotta love them.
Like, two-part question, Doc. One is, how can we, particularly we guys, distinguish and train our sons and daughters to distinguish between competitive and combative? And two, are there any telltale signs, any things that might come up that we might notice to let us know that we got a little problem?
Well, you got a problem.
We need to correct some things.
When your son kicks the television after his team loses, you know you got a problem.
Yeah,
that would be an indication. That would be an indication.
Houston, we have a problem.
This kid crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, a lot of times what is happening is that, parents do have to pay attention. And a lot of times we're not teaching our children how to accept disappointment. A lot of times we want them to get everything right. We want them to do everything right. And then we try to compensate. So sometimes when they get older, they don't recognize the fact that they're just not learning how to cope well with life in general. Right. So I think, first of all, we have to start helping our children understand that there is going to be success, there's going to be failure, and we have to be able to help them to recognize that. How do you deal with that? Accept that it's a part of life, and you get back up and you try again.
And
it's a new day.
And you don't fight.
And you don't fight because somebody didn't do what you what you wanted, or that they didn't do what you liked, or that your team did not win,
or that you didn't do what you
you didn't do. That you didn't do.
You didn't
well.
perform like you wanted.
Exactly, because everybody's not going to be on their A game every day. We like to bring our A game every day, but sometimes we are going to be on A-. I'm just sorry, and we just have to acknowledge that.
Sometimes it gets left in the car.
It does, and I think that when we think about competition is healthy. It helps us push us to the next level. It helps us be on our grind. It helps us to make sure that we are operating at our top speed, that we can with excellence. But at the same time, we have to also be willing to forgive ourselves for those days when we just don't hit number one. And it's okay to do that. And I think parents have to be able to accept that their children, if they are doing their very best, that you encourage them at that level and encourage them to take a step forward, but not 10.
Now, is it safe to say that these behaviors that we see out of these sports fanatics are rooted in their childhood? Because
I think that that's not necessarily true, because what can happen is that, you could normally, like as I said before, you could be a very calm person, but get in the midst of a group, and the group can push you to act in ways that you normally would not act, because you see the group acting that way. So normally you wouldn't be yelling and screaming, but you're in the midst of a bar and everybody else is yelling and screaming. You may not drink at the level that you normally, you wouldn't normally. You would drink like 1 or 2 beers, but now that you're in this group, everybody keeps getting a group.
That's right.
So you're just drinking.
Give me another.
Right. You taking shots because other people taking shots. People buying you shots. So some of it also has to do not only the group dynamic and what we call in psychology disinhibition, which is when you're in a group, you start acting in a different way. But it's also the whole fact of alcohol that sometimes is involved in a situation. Now, is it that there are some of these young men who, may become very aggressive? Did they show aggressive tendencies when they were younger? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Some of them did. But then some, it is at that moment. You know how we have, in the court system, we have that insanity defense, because at that moment, you sort of clicked out. Right. So in that moment, that can very much happen to many of us. And if you think about it, even those who are listening, your fans right now who are listening, can admit that there are some days where they acted in a way, said something that they normally would not have said, but in that moment, their emotions got out of control. And a situation that they didn't calm before it got out of control made them do something that was very irrational, something that they would have never done if they had been thinking in their right mind. And we have to also recognize that people can provoke you, but it's up to you. It's always going to be your choice. When it's all said and done, it is always going to be your choice.
So the fact that Jerald got slapped in the back of his head
provoked him.
It provoked him.
But he made the choice to go outside, knowing he was the only one, knowing that these people were feeling, very charged up about the fact that they lost. Mm-hmm. Now, in that moment, I would like to think that he just was not thinking about what he stood to lose. In that moment, it was probably a little bit more about his pride. It was a little bit more about his hurt, his embarrassment, and definitely his ego. So at that moment, he was not thinking, this is what I stand to lose. And we all have to recognize that in that moment, we have to think about, what do I stand to lose? And you don't want to lose your future because at that moment, your emotions took over.
Dr. Charlotte Freeman, I got 2 words for you.
What you got to say?
You bad. Thank you for being with us here on...
Bad to the bone.
Thank you for being... with the sick person to my
Thank
my
you
left.
Guys for having me.
You're left on your radio dial. We appreciate you being with us here on R&R on Sports. And you didn't know this when you signed on to do this, but this is like becoming part of the Cosa Nostra, right?
Okay.
You're in the family now.
All right.
And so whenever we call in the future, the answer's got to be yes. Okay?
Yes.
Deal?
Yes, boss.
We don't take no easily.
We'll be back with more R&R on Sports after this.
Give it to me, baby.
Hey, this is Ice. I'm the original gangster. And whenever I'm hanging out with Coco, when we just chilling on Saturdays, we always listening to Howard and Larry on R&R on Sports. You know what I'm saying?
I am a nightmare walking, psychopath talking, king of my jungle, just a gangster stalking.
R&R on Sports is proud to be on Sirius XM.
So what's R&R stand for?
Real talk and relevant sports issues.
It's racial and relative. We're brothers from the South. We can relate.
R&R has meaningful multiplicity.
Listen to you all polysyllabic and alliterative.
R&R is Larry Robinson and Howard Robertson conversing,
challenging, and always chuckling.
It's R&R on Sports.
David West of the Golden State Warriors.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
This is Shaq Adocious.
Yo, what's up? This is Ice Cube.
You're listening to a little R&R.
R&R on Sports.
All right, we're back.
Peace.
To get out. We came back to leave.
Arrivederci. Arrivederci.
This episode of R&R on Sports, we hope you have been informed. We hope you have been enlightened.
Sayonara.
We hope you have been entertained relative to that. We try to do things here on R&R on Sports that you don't hear and have an opportunity to hear on any other show. And
Ahala. Peace. Shalom.
Y'all pray for me.
I get with you later.
See, I have to deal with this. He's not well. It's good that we had Dr. Freeman here. I think they have scheduled. I think they have regularly scheduled appointments.
But unlike you, I'm gonna pay.
Yeah, because she just lets my business all out in the street.
No HIPAA laws
just because we have a non-cash. She's on a non-cash retainer.
See, HIPAA laws don't apply if you don't pay.
I buy food and dinner and stuff, drinks.
You done took a White Castle.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! But yeah, like I said, this is you know, I think that we've accomplished some things, and I really think that we've gotten some information, some very, very useful information out there, don't you?
Well, that's what we do with R&R. This is totally edutainment. We want to really communicate it in a way. I mean, you get a lot of different sports shows, and you can talk about scores and all those things. But we want to dig a little bit deeper. We want you to understand what's happening beyond what you can see from what television or whatever is willing to show you. So we're going to come at it from a different perspective. Mr. Howard is a PhD in BS, but me, I want to make sure and bring a certain level of mental dexterity and in-depth reporting.
Mental dexterity? Is that why your head is so big? Your ears been working out. We invite you to be back with us again next week, same time, same place for more R&R on Sports. I'm Howard Robertson.
And I am the great one, Larry Robinson.
Y'all have a great week.
You've been listening to a little R&R on Sports, written and produced by Howard Robertson, Larry Robinson, recorded and mixed in Memphis, Tennessee.